Well, 20% of the fossil fuel we're burning in this country goes to feed ourselves. $500 billion of our healthcare costs are going to treat preventable chronic diseases linked to the American diet. And as much as a third of climate gases, greenhouse gases, are being produced by the food system. But I also learned a couple hopeful things. One is that any changes we can make to make this food system more sustainable, less reliant on oil, more dependent on the sun, will yield very impressive dividends in all three of these areas, helping to solve these problems. I also learned something else very hopeful, and this is something you all learned in elementary school, and that is that all food, every calorie you have ever eaten, comes ultimately from the sun. And that as long as the sun is still shining, theoretically it should be possible to figure out a way, and that's what I want to talk about today, to feed ourselves from the sun. We're eating 500 more calories per person per day since Earl Butz came around and revolutionized the food system. 500 for each of us. And we're about 17 pounds fatter, corrected for age. 2/3 of us, overweight. 1/3 of us, obese, which means this generation, on current trends, will be the first in American history to have a shorter life expectancy than their parents. The healthcare crisis, that phrase, is a euphemism in large part for the catastrophe of the American diet. So that's the bad news, and there's plenty of it. But I want to talk a little bit about some good news. You see, it need not be a zero-sum game as long as the sun shines and we have this new energy coming in. I don't know what our food system's going to look like in 5 or 10 years, but I am confident it's going to change because we can't continue to have a food system that burns so much oil. We also can't continue to spew greenhouse gases from our food, not when we don't need to. But I also know that as long as we have visionary farmers, we will figure out how to do this. And that, as long as the sun still shines, there's one free lunch in this world, in this universe. And of course, that free lunch is called photosynthesis.